Hello. Today I'm going to be drawing a different view of a wasp. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. The photo is by James Reben. Thank you to him for this lovely photo. And it's always interesting to see different perspectives of these guys. A lot of different parts could be a bit kind of difficult to visualize. So I'm going to start as always by drawing the head as a small ball, and I will add more structures onto this wasp. Let me do it one more time, but I'm going to try to be a little more cleaner. Okay, the other thing I wanted to do differently this time is I kind of wanted to establish a line, kind of like a line of action to show about the body's length. It's a bit too long. I think to about there is good. Now I'm going to add like this oval form to summarize the thorax. I think I made it a little too big. Oh, also, you know what? I'm going to do that line one more time, because I think it's more kind of tilted to the left, even kind of like that, maybe even a little further. Sorry, the thorax is very slender. It has thicker parts, but it does kind of thin out, and it's interesting. But I am kind of using this smaller form that I'll eventually add more features onto. Didn't orient that perfectly. Kind of like that. And then the abdomen is significantly long. Okay. So now I want to put the leg attachments onto our wasp. And the back legs are like, they seem significantly further. Actually, all of them kind of seem a bit evenly spaced throughout the thorax. Alrighty. So now I want to draw lines of action for or not lines of action, just gestural lines to represent the direction of the legs. And something that I'm doing for this image, I am trying to put it kind of at the scale that I'm working with. And you can't see this because I'm trying to use my hand as a little bit of a measuring tool. But I'm trying to think of it. Maybe a bit too short, but I think it kind of works. An interesting skill that I eventually want to develop is drawing stuff in real life, still life things, using doing it proportionally, the scale 1:1. But for something like that, I would probably need a compass to try to get the two things. You know, pretty much like I feel like a compass could just extend further, and you could lock it in place. So it's like you can accomplish all of that with your fingers to a certain extent, but I feel like more often than not having a free hand is, and assuming you're going to be able to keep your fingers spread perfectly apart, I don't know. Perhaps it's possible. I wouldn't doubt it. So this one, this leg, the front right leg, it's kind of like a bit tucked. It's like doing something under the big additional form that's on the thorax. Kind of does something like that. About, I may have made it a bit too far. I think it's more like that. I want to cap it off. Now I want to do the two middle legs, which it's kind of like they go out, then up, and it's about kind of like that. Now I'm going to do the other side leg. This leg right here, if you could see where my computer mouse is, right here. Yeah, I think that's a good distance. Now for the back legs, which seems significantly longer. I don't know if that's just a perspective illusion, but I have seen a lot of insects with like longer back legs. I know it's never good to make an assumption without knowing anything, so I'm not gonna make any assumptions. And the interesting thing is, I didn't make this long enough. It should have gone a little bit longer. I'm trying to do this comparison in which the back leg kind of like, think of the end of the abdomen. Well, you know what? It kind of goes past it. I feel like it should just go a little bit more, kind of like that, because I'm trying to be mindful of all of these comparisons and the negative space. You know, something like I want to be more accurate with my insects. About there. Okay, so we got the legs. Now what I want to do is I really want to do the antenna, but sometimes I have learned that I kind of have to jump around between doing gestural parts and structure. So in this case, I'm going to add the structure of the head because I feel like I just can't do more until I get that part. So the first thing that I wanted to do, and I'm kind of realizing that I probably should have left a bigger gap. Well, maybe not. So there's this form that kind of goes, it's a bit of a diamond shape, and it doesn't go past, it doesn't cover up the second legs, but it just covers up like the first pair, and I want to do that. I'm going to draw it in two sections. And it like wraps around that form. Should have gone out a little bit more. I really want to adhere to that triangular-like form. So the other thing is that's interesting is I'm seeing like an initial ball, but I'm going to draw that little ball. Well, it's more like a pill shape. And it's a really interesting shape, the head. It's very, very interesting. It's kind of like that. And I want to show you the initial part because it kind of like cuts into that ball a bit. I'm going to put the eye here soon, but I just wanted to show that concave part. Where our eyes will go. It should be a bit sharper. But it really wraps around that head. It's much like a sorry. It's much like an eye socket of like a skull, if you ever look at a skull. And like the eyes are bulging a little bit. I'm gonna put like a little circle, or maybe I'll just do like those two things to kind of show the reflecting light source. And you know, it's really interesting because like even though it kind of seems like I'm drawing like a half ellipse for these eyes, they do go into that form. Like the eyes are balls. They're not like half ellipses. So it's important to keep that in mind. The other thing is the two antennae, they have this, well obviously they have initial connection point, but they kind of have this indentation form that kind of bulges ever so slightly. It's very subtle. So, okay, I'm going to draw a line to for the antenna. The antennae are really long on this one. It's like about to there. It's a really daunting line. And I am going to ghost my line. And when I say ghost, it's a method to practice lines before you draw them. Basically, you start at one point and you have an end goal point, and you try to trace the line. Not trace, I mean like you draw without drawing to get practice in until you are comfortable enough to do the stroke, the line stroke. Kind of like that. And you can do that with all types of lines. I think it should have curved a little bit more. No, I think it's good. And I want to make the ending point just a little bit sharper. Okay, so now for the other antenna. I like it. Okay. Now to cap off that little endpoint. Alrighty. So, now I feel like I should do the other parts of the body for the structure of it. And I kind of realized I should have kept these lines, the antenna lines, on the gesture layer, but I kind of made a mistake and I was really focused. So I'm going to add the other structure of the body. And like I see a separation right here. I don't believe it is the wings, but I see like a separation. It kind of goes just slightly past the last pair of legs. It's kind of like that. And it kind of goes up a little bit and connects to that triangle thing. And now I want to do the abdomen. Now I'm seeing some separation it's a bit hard to see. I believe the stinger is a bit obscured. But I think it's there. Like, I'm guessing in this case, it has its stinger retracted. I didn't know a lot of wasps can do that, but they can like pull their stinger into their body. And I think I'm guessing they only bring it out when they're either scared or the ones that lay eggs that do that. I don't recommend you Google that. It's pretty awful what they do to caterpillars, but I know the food chain is important and all that, but it's pretty awful. So I can't see all the separations, but I do see like some banding separations between the forms. I see like 1, 2, a lot of hornets have these, this, what I would call insect armor. I bet there's a more technical term for it. Their exoskeleton, I believe. And yeah, that last part just kind of connects to that. Okay, so now I'm gonna connect it all. I just like to call it insect armor because it sounds cool. You know, a lot of them protects their internals. Okay. So now I think I will draw I'll do the antenna. I'll start with the antenna because there's so many of these little stacking cup things. They're kind of like a bunch of I think of them as like a bunch of stacking cups that are connected to one another. Kind of like that. Or you can think of it like candy corn. That's another way. But the initial shape is actually, like, there's an initial more oval-like shape. I'm trying to think how to best draw it. Kind of like that. I think I should have drawn it a bit longer. I just lost the power, so I hope I don't lose it again, or else I may have to chop this video into 2. I was just thinking that I was going to lose the power too. Yeah, that's what you get. I'm making this video in the summer, and it appears that quite frequently the electricity blows. Usually I hear like sounds before we lose power. And I think what it is some of the power line things have like these metal cylinders. I think they're filled with mineral oil. And I think that they tend to like explode if it gets too hot. I mean, I don't know if that's the reason, but I think it always happens in the summer around here. It's not fun to be without power. Probably take it for granted, as I used to live in an area that only had, like, it didn't have air conditioning. It was just central air, I think is what they call it. Got hot. So I'm adding these little shape things as I go. And they're all like little stacking cups. Perhaps I'm making them a little bit too large. They're kind of like larger, I think, initially because of the perspective, and they kind of thin out as you go higher. and they also kind of get a bit smaller. I mean, to the point in which they also kind of look like little ovals rather than the stacking cups, based on the perspective. One thing that I've always been looking for is a wasp flying midair, so that I could also focus on the wingspan. Because a wasp like this, in its resting state, it folds its wings on top of one another, so it could be difficult to, you really can't see the wingspan because of that. I mean, it's cool. I'm not insulting the image in any way. I'm just saying some photos of insects in action are probably really difficult to get. Because even most photos of butterflies, they always focus their wingspan, not the underbody, which probably grosses out a lot of people. I hate to say, not me, but in art, I feel like you rarely see the underside of a butterfly, and it's more focusing on the beauty of the wingspan. I could be wrong. I bet there are artists who have focused on both. I should have tried to count all of these. In the future, I will try to do that. There's just so many. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, about 24. Oh yeah, I made these way too big. Oops. Seventeen, 18, 19, 20, 21, 20, 22, 23. I put in one extra one. Well, I guess I didn't count the end. Okay, well that works. Okay, so now I'm going to do the legs, and some portions of the leg are a bit obscured by the extra diamond-like shape. Oh, I also realized that I think I should have made it a bit larger than I did. I kind of made it a bit smaller than the reality. And it also looks like it's a bit round through the midsection. It's kind of like a hump. I'm guessing that's to fit internal organs and stuff like that. The other thing I wanted to mention is there's a transitionary thing that kind of smooths out as it connects to the head shape. And I realized I didn't put that in. It's kind of like what connects everything together, right here. Right there, if you could see it. Okay, so now I am going to draw the front left leg. The initial bean shape is a bit obscured, sadly. It's hard to tell and estimate what direction the leg is going. Well, I mean, I know it's going that way, but it's just a bit obscured, which is something I will just work with. Actually, I made that a little bit too long. The first leg kind of goes just a little bit above the eye. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. Yeah, there's got to be an initial larger bean-like shape. And maybe that is the initial bean-like shape. Because you think there would always be an initial... usually when I look at a lot of insects, they have this initial nub-like connecting thing. It always looks like a bit like a bean that someone cut a round chunk out of. If you look at spiders, I think they make it easier to understand how it connects initially. But they're always something like this. Something like that. Alrighty, so now I'm gonna actually draw that leg. Kind of like goes out a little bit, then it like comes in. And now for this one, kind of like really thins out. Gets really very thin. I couldn't even call it a matched stick. It's just very small. And I'm seeing these little triangle things. It's like there's 3 of them, then a longer ending one. It's a bit difficult to accomplish. I will try my best. I hope that's okay. I feel like, and they also have like 2 little claws at the end to grasp stuff, probably like plants and whatnot. Okay, now for this one. I see an ending point about there. Kind of like that. Kind of like that. And now this bean, it's really interesting because I'm seeing like a little bit of a hook here. So I'll draw the bean shape first. It connects. And it's like, I don't know what it's for, but it's like a hook of some sort. Probably to grasp insects, which is really gross. I would not be surprised. It's to grasp prey after it stings them and paralyzes them or something like that. Don't Google it. Unless you have a strong stomach. See, I also made a mistake here. I think it should be curving a little bit before the end. So it's kind of like, you know, we're having these this triangle-like shape. We have like 3 of them. Then the end is also that triangle shape, but it's a bit hard because it's kind of tucked under that leg there. I'll draw this leg to show. Okay. Now for this one, kind of goes there. And I am seeing another one of those spike things. Not spike, but like, I don't know what it is, some grasper of some sort. Now I'm seeing a triangle, like a longer one. I'm seeing like the 3 smaller ones. And the last one, which is a little bit longer but really small. Now for the left middle leg. Try not to make it too thick. Okay, so now it's very thin. Already there. Then we have I guess it's about 4 triangles, then the last one. I kind of capped off the end, and now that I'm thinking about it, it's actually probably bad that I did that, because they're like flat, they're not round. Unlike what I did originally. Okay, so we have a very thin Now for the last one, should have been a little bit more thin. I also want to extend that line just a little bit. Okay, now for the back leg, and I'm seeing a really big initial bean shape. Now I'm seeing a shape that it has that hook right here. If you can see where my mouse is on the image, it's like right there. It's really interesting. I hope I don't say that too much, because if everything is interesting, then nothing is. Okay, then I see that spike thing, and I'm seeing a longer triangle-like shape. And I'm seeing through 1, 2, 3, then the last one. Three. It's got those two little claws at the end. They're over on this one too. I couldn't see it initially. Oops. Sometimes the perspective may obscure them a bit. Okay, now for the back right leg, right here. I'm seeing kind of that initial connection point. Okay, so now for the bean. It's about here, and it kind of goes out a bit. Like that. Now I'm seeing the shape here kind of like puffs out a little bit on one side, but on the other side it remains about consistent. And the important thing is right here, like I am trying to show wraparound connections, how all of the legs interlock, kind of like here with the antenna. I was thinking like stacking cups. So now I see a very thin triangle thing. Then we have our 1, 2, 3, and then the last one. Now the last one. And it has little hooks at the end that are very subtle. Okay, so now I want to do the wings, which are very gestural in nature. I'm not sure if I want to try to cover all of the interconnecting parts of the wing. I mean, maybe I'll try it. It's always a bit difficult to do that. So I also have to think that, so the wings are connected to the thorax. It's like right there and right there. And it's on like the lower half about. It's kind of hard to see with all the overlap I did, but I did draw two small connecting things. And I'm probably going to mess this up a little bit. I hope that kind of shows it. The other one is overlapping, so it's a bit difficult to show. But I think the important thing is that it's very symmetrical. But it's not so symmetrical because it's like, I don't like that. It should have been more gestural. But I want to leave it with how it is. It's hard to get it perfect on the first try. Okay, so, they're overlapping. Yeah, there's a lot of structure, not even considering the, it looks like iridescence, or maybe it's just the way light is reflecting from it. Not sure what advantage that gives the wasp. Probably something, but I don't really know. But yeah, you're seeing all these like crystalline, maybe that's the wrong word to describe it. You are seeing a structure that kind of holds it all together. And some of it's thicker. It's really difficult to explain. Usually I don't cover this at all in my videos because I feel like I'm a bit too amateur for it. And it's also kind of like the closer you look, the more you'll see more structures. Like, I know I'm going to mess up a lot of it, but a lot of it is kind of hard to see. But perhaps I should leave it there with this video, because I feel like covering wings is something that I should do in another video. Because like, you could even see it here, it just continues, gets like smaller. It's kind of like have you ever heard of a fractal in math? It's like these shapes that keep repeating, or like in a fractal, I think it's got to come from math, but I'm guessing like fractal shapes is more what I'm talking about. It's kind of like these things, you look closer at them and they're made up of more of the same shape at a very small level that repeats endlessly, it seems. But yeah, I think I should leave it here. So if you like my video, please like it. If you like my channel, please subscribe. And if you have a question, please ask in the comments. Thanks for sticking around. And I am so happy I didn't lose the power. Bye.